Welcome everyone to the Moistski news for February the 8th, 2021. As you will have noticed from the thumbnail, I'm going to be providing an update to a number of situations concerning the Scottish Nationalist Party. These updates would include what will happen in the event of the SNP winning at the elections in May, what they plan at least, what they've done as a form of reshuffle within the UK Parliament for the SNP party, and the Alex Salmond inquiry, as all three are quite tasty, quite spicy, and oh boy, does this all make them look really, really bad. So to start, we're going to cover what happens in the event of the SNP winning the elections in May. This could be argued to be a manifesto pledge. They believe that by winning they will have a mandate and therefore a legal right to have a second independence referendum. Boris Johnson maintains that the last referendum in 2014 was in fact a referendum for a lifetime. I know that the life expectancy in Scotland is quite low, but I don't believe it to be 7 years. So firstly, it's worth pointing out they don't have the powers necessary to push forward with it. It would in fact be a referendum in name only. So we can, if you want to be cute, call it Reno. This referendum idea was taken to a Scottish court and then summarily thrown out because, understandably, it had no legal basis owing to the fact that it was premature and hypothetical. You can't preempt something and take it to court unless it happens first. And in truth, if they did try a referendum and a vote because the polls are now showing over 50% are okay with it, it still does not count as a legal referendum. It is a referendum purely based on optics, and is by definition an empty gesture. It is worth also pointing out now that if Scotland left the UK, it is believed that it would do 4 times more damage than Brexit, and it would also cost Scotland £11 billion a year, which, oddly enough, is a rather large chunk of the money they received from the UK government, thanks to those Barnett consequentials. I wonder how fast the SNP could join the EU and ask for a bailout to cover those deficits. Oh, and for the sake of it, as I haven't referenced it yet, any attempt at a referendum, the Scottish Tories will boycott, because it is not something that has been given legal consent, and that has to come from the UK government, who will not grant it. So to move on from that, we should go to Joanna Cherry. Joanna Cherry is a Member of Parliament for the SNP, so she doesn't operate in the Scottish Parliament. And she was very recently sent to the back benches of the SNP corner by Ian Blackford, who is essentially a glorified pudgy henchman for Nicola Sturgeon. It is also worth pointing before this happened, Joanna Cherry and Nicola Sturgeon have not been on good terms for quite some time. Joanna Cherry is often seen as the successor to Nicola Sturgeon, and there is a point to that. She does believe in an independent Scotland. She's very passionate about Scotland's place in Europe. Hell, she was the one that fought against prorogation. So why was Joanna Cherry sent to the back benches of the SNP corner within the House of Commons? Because Nicola Sturgeon is pushing forward a very progressive policy about gender recognition. When it comes to trans rights, Joanna Cherry takes the stance of, this must be done and conducted by professionals and therefore have a legal diagnosis. Nicola Sturgeon's position is, no, if you say you're trans, that's it. Nothing more, let's make that legal, here's some paperwork, you're golden. Because Joanna Cherry criticised this and has often stood against the SNP position, and not because she is Nicola Sturgeon's considered would-be successor and therefore a threat to the throne, she was sent to the back benches. This particular point about gender recognition has in fact divided the SNP, but it doesn't get much coverage because the SNP for the most part are in fact united, especially against those pesky English, those evil Tories, and wanting to rejoin the EU who have not kept a light on for Scotland. In this, my opinion is very much that of Joanna Cherry's. You have to be professionally diagnosed. You have to be assessed, evaluated, which yes, can be quite intrusive, because one has to be sure that you are who you say you are. You can just say, I'm whichever gender, whichever binary, non-binary, whatever animal in the animal kingdom, I don't care. It has to be diagnosed first. Okay? So to the final subject, we're going to go to the Alex Salmond inquiry that is getting rather messy. Nicola Sturgeon has claimed that she did not mislead the Scottish Parliament after it was claimed she misremembered key dates and information concerning meetings she may or may not have had with Alex Salmond. Her simply saying, I can't remember, doesn't work for anyone. Which also handily leads to the claims that her husband had perjured himself, which many believed would have therefore meant he would not be invited back to the inquiry. Except last week he got invited back to the inquiry to give more evidence. One can safely assume then they managed to evaluate what he had said, or either trying to find more gaps in his own arguments to poke holes at. After a code of conduct complaint was made, aides of Nicola Sturgeon decided to be big brave and go in on Boris Johnson, but then because they're big brave, they deleted those tweets, and some of those same aides were caught out by essentially wanting a vendetta to go and get Alex Salmond locked up within the criminal charges he faced that he was acquitted of. Alex Salmond has gone on to accuse the Scottish Nationalist Party of disgraceful dishonesty, and the inquiry itself has gone on to obtain information from the Crown Court over his criminal investigation, because they need that for certain dates and but because of the information being quite sensitive, they cannot publish it. And there's also a problem when it comes to evidence provided by the Scottish Nationalist Party that has since been given a censored status and therefore will not be publicly available, which has been considered by many to be what could in fact risk derailing the entire inquiry and investigation. And to add to that, the investigation itself and inquiry by extension is now focused on the most important part, a rift between Nicola Sturgeon and Alex Salmond. So one can safely say this is reaching a very much crucial moment. And I will, link everything down below and keep you all updated on this as it unfolds. As I've been keeping these sources for about a month, I wanted to provide an update now in case I have to do another one in a month's time, which is likely at this point. With what's going on, with the election and possible referendum not being remotely legal, Joanna Cherry being sent to the back benches of a corner within the House of Commons, and the Alex Salmond inquiry, I'd like to know what you all think. So please do let me know in the comments down below. As a final thing, last week's political recap stream with myself and Trups LP is now on Spotify. Please consider giving us a follow there. I would greatly appreciate it. Hope you all have a fantastic day, and thank you all for listening.